Hello, I'm Candice Quiñones. I teach at Earlham College. I'm not going to say I'm a professor because that's not my official title, but I teach classes. What do I do at Earlham College? So I work with international students as part of my job, and the other part of my job involves teaching English to our international students who might need to boost their skills a little bit. What TOEFL score do you need to get into a U.S. college? Based on the previous set of scoring rules, I would say to get into a college, you would probably need somewhere between 80 and 100 depending on the college. Earlham, for example, will take students with an 80, but we usually require them, if they're lower, if they're closer to that 80, we usually require them to take certain classes just to make sure that their English skills are ready for the rest of their time here at Earlham. And if they are closer to like a 95, usually we don't need to require too many classes. So it really just depends. Now, again, the scores are about to be changing, and I don't have a lot of experience to know, like, with this new scoring, what it's going to look like in terms of a good score versus, not optimal. If we're comparing it with their charts that they publish saying this is equivalent to this, I would say probably a 5 would be good. Lower than a 5 might put us into a questionable range. If you scored around 100 on a TOEFL, do you think you could fully keep up with college classes? I would say yes. That usually scoring around 100 will put you in a good position to be able to keep up with college classes. How much do professors in U.S. colleges care about English level for international students? That's going to really, really depend on the professor. I obviously care a lot about English because I'm the teacher of English. But if you're in different classes, sometimes they're more focused on the content of the course and how well you are grasping the content of the course. However, there are some cases where if you are having trouble expressing your ideas or understanding like the questions that they're asking you, then that could cause a bit of a struggle. So, it really just depends on the instructors. Some instructors are really picky about grammar and things like that, and others, they don't care as much as long as they understand you. So it really, really depends. In your opinion, what matters more than English ability when it comes to succeeding in college life and classes in the U.S.? The biggest thing that helps when you are, English is important, but you need to also have a motivation to work hard because, you could speak English great, but if you're not applying yourself and trying to pass your classes, then it's not going to work out really well. The motivation and the effort are very important in succeeding. When working with international students, what do you try to be mindful of? So I try to be mindful of where the student is coming from, what was their previous educational experiences, because everyone is coming from a slightly different educational background. They have different frames of reference for ideas and, concepts. So sometimes there could be misunderstandings. So I have to make sure that I'm explaining myself when I'm mentioning something and trying to also understand when they're mentioning something. Maybe it's not the same thing that I would associate with those words. I also, try to think about why the student is here, what are their goals, what do they want to do with their education, because depending on what you're planning to do, there are different focuses that you need to take. Why did I go into teaching or become a teacher? I've always wanted to teach. I originally studied education when I was an undergrad student, and then when I went to my master's program, I studied teaching English as a second language. And as my doctorate, I studied teaching and learning. So this has always been something I wanted to do. What did I study at university and what was my college experience like? Well, I kind of answered that question already, but I studied elementary education and special education as my undergrad. Again, I studied teaching English as a second language for my master's and teaching and learning for my doctorate. My college experience, I went to a state school for my undergraduate experience, which was, I would say, a medium-sized school. I really enjoyed my college experience because I was involved in a lot of different organizations on campus. And so I made a lot of connections through those organizations. And I was also studying my major, but at the same time, I appreciated the experiences outside of the classroom because it gave me a greater view of, how the world works and things like that. Because a lot of the organizations I belonged to the International Student Organization, even though I wasn't an international student. I just made friends with a lot of international students. I also belonged to other organizations, related to my interests. So that was undergraduate. My master's experience was mostly focused around just going to classes and doing my homework because the workload was a bit heavier there. And also just, trying to find work wherever I could to be able to help. I ended up doing my doctorate experience online. So that took me a bit longer than it would have taken if I had done a program in person, perhaps, but I got it done. So it wasn't the most traditional pathway that everyone takes for that. But I was also working full-time as I was studying. What are the benefits of learning in a diverse environment? I believe learning in a diverse environment helps with getting different perspectives. Because if everybody around you is saying the same thing, you're never going to be able to truly grow as a student. The more you're exposed to different opinions, different ideas, different ways of thinking, the more open you'll be to trying new things and experiencing new things. And it will also help you when you get out into the world and you're getting, to work and things like that, because you'll have experienced a variety of different things in your education. So learning in a diverse environment can be helpful on a lot of different levels. It can stretch you and it can also make you a more qualified candidate for job positions because you have experience with a variety of different things. Why is active participation in discussions so important in American college classes? So some education models are purely based on lectures. In the US system, a lot of our educational models are focused around collaboration, working together, discussing ideas. This is where the diversity comes in when you're sharing ideas and different thoughts. This is part of that. There are some lectures that in American colleges for certain things, but a lot of the smaller classes, especially in the liberal arts colleges, are going to be very much focused on discussions. They want you to talk and they want you to listen and share and, think critically about what other people are saying. And they believe that, again, the sharing of ideas is very important. Thank you for watching. I would hope that anyone hoping to study in the United States is motivated to, think about what type of experience you want and find the right spot for you.